of March, Sharia law goes on the ballot in the state of Texas.
The United States Constitution and Sharia are fundamentally at odds with one another.
We're going to tell them, take your Sharia law and shove it.
Islam will never dominate the United States, and by the grace of God, it will not dominate Texas.
As Texas goes, so goes the nation. As the nation goes, so goes the world. Are you prepared to fight for this state? Are you prepared to fight for your country?
War Room Texas, where your host, Stephen K. Bannon, starts right now.
Monday, 26th January, year of our Lord 2026. Thank you. I want to start off. We're absolutely packed today. We're going to get through all of it. And we will be shifting the show down to Texas next week for the first week of Texas, or stay through the 3 March primary. Real quickly, so you've inspired this. We've already inspired people throughout the country. We had folks on from Arizona. We've had folks on from Oklahoma who are also fighting their fights. Mike Lindell, you're going to talk to me about the deal for the posse in a second, but you're running for governor and your race is so on fire. First off, Waltz dropped out because, he's going to be indicted. Now they've gone to the U.S. Senate, and Texas has got a huge Senate primary with Paxton versus Cornyn, and they're all talking about, well, Paxton wins. You're not going to hold the seat. The Democrat could win. They've taken Amy Klobuchar out of the Senate, folks, in Texas. You hadn't heard this. They're taking her out of the Senate to run for governor because they fear Mike Lindell. And one of the reasons, Lindell, talk to me about what you're going to do with Sharia law. What your first action as governor is to do what?
Yeah, well, I'm banning it. And Steve, in Minnesota, this is years ago. You go back to 2016, everybody, or 2000, maybe it was 18. And Cargill, and they fired 200 of these Muslims and these Somalians because they of their breaks, their prayer breaks. I've said it before for the last 5-6 years. Minnesota was the Trojan horse for this catastrophe, this takeover. And it was back then, if you did it, you're called a racist. If you don't, I just didn't hire them, but Cargill did. And what they did, Steve, they wanted them gone so bad because it was interfering with their lines that they fired them and settled for 1.5 million, even though they had all the reason to fire them. And so I'm going to ban Sharia law the first day I'm in governor. And by the way, the last hour, everybody's been texting me. You can help out at mikelindellgov.com, everybody, and learn other things I'm going to do. Another thing is I'm taking that satanic statue out of the Capitol that Waltz put in there and said we had to be fair to the devil. This Minnesota is the Trojan horse, and look what it spread to Texas, everywhere else. This is number one on my list, everybody, banning Sharia law. But go to mikelindellgov.com. We need help right now. I got to win this. Steve, I'm doing the same things I was going to do with the president. I have great campaigning, and you had 250,000 people voted for Donald Trump in 2020 in Minnesota that didn't even bother to vote in 2022. I don't care if I have to go door to door. We're going to wake those people up if they're not already woke up. I mean, we've got problems in Minnesota. We need to fix it now.
Mike, give me a minute on the deal everybody's talking about. People of the weekend were talking to me. They love the deal you've given from my pillow.
Yeah. This is our biggest betting deal.
Particularly in Texas, I want everybody to go.
Right on. This is, you guys, this is the biggest deal we've ever had on our Made in the USA mattress toppers and mattresses. Where My Pillow gives you the great REM sleep, our mattress toppers and our mattress give your body great sleep, which is called Delta Sleep. Now, I helped develop these mattress toppers and mattresses. Sleep is all about pressure points and temperature. And I'll tell you, just the queen size alone, which $149.98, has over 10,000 individual comfort support. The best support you can ever get. They're shipped for free right to your front door. 6-month guarantee, money back guarantee, 10-year warranty. You'll have the best sleep for you. You'll be covered. Go to mypillow.com/war room. There you can check out all our mattresses, mattress toppers. And then also remember, we have the blankets. That this is a War Room exclusive, as low as $25 a blanket. It's cold out there right now. Get those, everybody. Once they're gone, they're gone. and it's free shipping on your entire order. Promo code War Room 800-873-1062. My operators are standing by, and I guarantee you there ain't one of them that's a Somali and taking that call. These they speak English, so the promo code War Room and get
Mike,
the best sleep of your life.
thank you for stepping up too. It takes a brave person to sit there going, "Hey, look, I don't want to hear any happy talk on this thing. I'm banning it. My first thing I do, I'm going to ban it
Absolutely.
because it's a cancer that's metastasizing."
Yeah,
Lindell, you're a
it's
good
terrible,
man.
everybody.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you for the sale. People are raving about it. Thank you, brother. Do I have Byron Henry? Okay. If not, I'll bring up Frank Gaffney. We'll take one or the other. Frank, why don't you join me? Then I'll get Byron after we get the technical aspects worked out. Frank, we have a task and purpose here, right? People have talked about this for a long time, and I believe one of the strengths of having the conference and then having War Room Texas is that people feel comfortable that they now can discuss it like adults. And I'm hearing this I'm inundated with people from Texas, but also Arizona. That's where they came on the show the other day. Oklahoma. Mike Lindell wanted to come on and say about his band. People throughout the country are being inspired by what the Texans are doing on this situation of Sharia law. And for the first time, people are saying, hey, look, I felt uncomfortable talking about it before, but it's a major problem, and it may be the most major problem. And you see what's happening up in Minneapolis. Frank Gaffney, your thoughts?
Steve, you've rendered an incalculable public service by dedicating this kind of time to this particular topic and specifically this particular fight in the state of Texas. And it's not just that people have felt uncomfortable talking about Sharia, which of course is the Islamic, I call it toxic, demonic, and anti-constitutional ideology of Islam. Not all Muslims subscribe to it, but those that don't are called apostates. And that's a capital offense under Islam. So by and large, they're going along with it, or at least keeping their heads down. But the rest of us have been, I believe, induced to try to pretend that there's not a problem here out of fear. It's not an accident. We are being terrorized by those who do adhere to Sharia because they have, from the time of Muhammad himself, if indeed he existed at all, this doctrine that says use terrifying violence to subdue the unbelievers, to compel them, and this is the literal meaning, as you know, of the word Islam, to submit to a, yes, totalitarian theocracy, ultimately, that is supposed to rule worldwide. What you have helped do, Steve, and I don't think we can adequately express our appreciation, certainly those of us who've been in this fight for a long time, but I think, as you say, more and more Americans, and it's not just in Texas, it's not just in Minnesota, it's across our country, who are finally finding the courage to say what needs to be said about this, which is this is unacceptable. We will not submit, and we will not be terrorized into remaining silent until we are forced to submit. This is a breakthrough moment. And I just want to say that when we had some conversations down in Texas on the margins of that very important dinner on the 9th of January with Geert Wilders and you and Glenn Beck, Peter McAvena. It was just an extraordinary moment. And the focus that you've put on specifically this primary ballot proposition on the 3rd of March, in which 5 simple words will be put to the people voting. They're supposed to be Republicans, and I hope it will predominantly be Republicans. It's a Republican primary, after all, but it's kind of an open one. But the 5 words are these: Texas should prohibit Sharia law. It couldn't be more clearly put, and I couldn't be more excited about the extent to which the people of the state and their political leaders are now resonating to this vital message. And I hope with your help, we will make it a crushing victory that in turn sets the stage for it becoming Sharia, really becomes a voting issue across the country this fall.
Frank, hang on for a second. I want you to ride shotgun with me for a while because I've got some guests that are going to want some observations and commentary for you. I want to go to Byron Henry now. He's the chairman of the Republican Party for Collin County, Texas. Sir, you're in the middle of this maelstrom. Can you walk through? Collin County is one of the most patriotic, most Americana counties, not just in Texas, but probably the country. Can you explain to our audience what's happening in your county?
Yes, good evening, Steve. Thanks for having me on tonight. Yeah, so Collin County is important for a lot of reasons. Not only is it one of the reddest large counties in Texas, but it exports the most Republican net votes of any county in the entire state, and at times it's in the top 5 in the country of exporting net votes. So it needs to be not just red, but dark red in order to counter a lot of the big cities around the rest of the state. But what we're seeing here is that Collin County on the outskirts of Dallas, and we don't take in Dallas and Collin County hardly at all, but a sliver, is the ring in which the technology corridor was built 30 years ago. I came to Collin County in 2000, so I've been there 25 years. And everyone that worked in tech and everyone when it was exploding and expanding moved to Plano. And of course, now there's Frisco, and we've even gotten further up in Prosper, where I live, Salina and whatnot, pushing farther and further north. But what happened during that time is we imported a lot of labor. And it really wasn't seen as a major issue there, but we've just had an explosion of immigration. Some friends went to India not too long ago and said there's literally advertisements in India to move to Frisco, Texas, in the heart of Collin County. Now, I'm not complaining per se about people saying Frisco is a great place to live. Collin County is one of the best places to live on earth. But the point is people know where Collin County has jobs, safety, high quality of living, good public schools as far as curriculum goes, maybe not necessarily with the values that we all share. But the key is it's a very desirable place to live, and it's always been very inviting for companies to hire people and import labor. We've seen the disaster of the immigration policies of both parties, really, but especially the left over the past 30 to 40 years, and it's been crushing. And Collin County has been at the epicenter of that when benign labor importation in a lot of different industries was just running rampant, and H-1Bs now, which is getting a lot of focus as well. And then you have, on top of all that, Steve, you have just an influx of other countries and from nations where Islam is the predominant religion, also flocking to Collin County, and they're bringing their culture with them. It's not just people that's like, we can't stand where we live. It's oppressive. We want to be free. We want to take part in the American dream and whatnot. That's not what we're seeing anymore, especially in Collin County. We are seeing cultures being imported, neighborhoods being, basically overrun with one faith. In fact, some, as you know about Epic, the Epic issue was attempting to make it kind of like a Islamic enclave with only adherents to Islam living there, as well as portions of the HOA dues being used to fund the mosques and the religious and other ideological endeavors of that community. And so all those things have just come to a head now, and it's like, where were we? What were we doing? I'm sure someone was saying something about it, but now on a daily basis, my inbox is literally full of emails and warnings about different things going on in North Texas, especially Collin County, with respect to this threat. And I think it's wonderful that you've set up camp here in Texas, especially focusing on North Texas, and then especially focusing on that March 3rd ballot initiative, which will allow the Republican Party and those that share our values to make their voices heard loud and clear, that if you live in this country, we follow American law and the American Constitution only, and there won't be any Sharia law or Sharia law light or a lot of the other things that are being pushed in some of these communities in Texas and in Collin County specifically.
Talk to us. Just give us a minute, because this show now, I can tell you, just the amount of traffic it's getting. It's getting a broad national audience and an international audience because people are fascinated by this topic, particularly in some place like Texas. Just give us a minute on Epic City, on the scale of it, on the audacity of it, of what they plan to do, and still plan. They've changed the name to Meadows, and of course, being politicians, they had a law passed about Epic City, but the last line of it, as Brian Harrison always reminds me, says, we exempt, in this law, we do exempt Epic City. Talk to us about the audacity of it, the scale of it.
Well, it really is the scale that is the surprising thing. We obviously have immigration, as we've talked about, just negative immigration running rampant to this country with very little checks, and during the Biden administration, literally no checks at all, such that we were importing criminals, not just immigrants from countries that literally hate America and would like to see us wiped off the face of the earth. But Epic City is really the first documented attempt to basically put all the pieces together, from the religious to the political to the governance to the HOA to the funding, into one community, and basically attempt to create a large, 1,000+ resident enclave that's basically defined by Islam. While the contracts don't say explicitly you can't live here if you don't do X or Y, all of the other information we have is that it is basically an attempt to, abiding by our current laws, create an enclave of what is basically an Islamic enclave within the heart of Collin County communities. And the problem with that is, first of all, there's many constitutional problems with basing these things on race. But one of the issues is that our laws are not designed for ideologies that have a religious kind of bent or basis to them, such that the Supreme Court has said so broadly about what is and is not religious that we have to really have these strategy sessions and get thoughtful and strategic about what we're going to allow with respect to these pseudo-religious or ideological enclaves. Because if we don't get creative and strategic soon, people from all cultures, but specifically the threat we're facing now from the Sharia law and radical Islamic jihad now, is that they're using our own laws and provisions that are designed to keep the government out of all of our other businesses about when we want to move somewhere where people share our faith, or we want to start a church, or we want to meet in our houses for religious services. They're using those laws that Christians have used and our Constitution to beat back threats to our religious rights, to basically enforce the ability to create these enclaves. And you couple that with the fact that we've had cities, Steve, just that have not matched the ideological bent of the state or the legislature. So they're basically, like Plano, for instance, embracing this. So the legislature makes laws saying that the cities can't take specific zoning decisions, which we're applauding and saying, yeah, cities can't take specific zoning decisions, but you're also taking tools out of the hands of the good cities, the ones that are conservative, the ones that do share our values and look like the rest of the state, from being able to address these concerns. So we have got to get smarter and more strategic about how we deal with these threats, and it needs to be quick. And I tend to agree with Brian Harrison, at least on this. I'm not sure if we can just wait for regular sessions every 2 years to address this problem as it unfolds in real time. It's too fast. There's too much going on to say we'll take care of this in 2 years.
Can you give us an update? Where do we stand on Epic? They changed the name to Meadows. They passed a law, but they said they exempt us. Where do we stand? It's Meadows now, but where do we stand with actually shutting this down?
Well, we stand at, it has not been approved because there are paperwork issues, and people can tout that all they want. I can tell you that the paperwork issues are correctable. So unless the city unless the Meadows don't follow, through with their lawyers and their business people and get this done right now, it is simply documenting the proper entities and the owners and their owners and the indirect ownership and the different ties. It's just a matter of time before they get their paperwork in order under current local law and state law for that matter, in order to get some of the approvals they have to start this going. So as I said, it's going to take more than what's currently on the books for a planning and zoning board or a city council to basically say, we know you're in accordance with all our other laws. We know you filled out all the paperwork and dotted all the I's and crossed the T's, but absent an opinion from the Attorney General or a court ruling that they're non-compliant, a violation of civil rights laws, for instance, with respect to the way it's established, or possibly attacking the funding and the people behind the development. And if we can tie that directly or indirectly to some of the organizations that have been designated as terrorist organizations by the governor or adversarial by the governor in the state, that new legislation that was passed, that's another way to get at it. And I've always said the way you attack these organizations is just follow the money. Find out who's funding it, find out where it's coming from, find out how they're tied directly or indirectly, and just run that down until you're exhausted. And if we can get at that information, we can also use the new designations of CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood and hopefully some others that may be coming down the pike to basically block people buying land. They're not even allowed to buy land or invest in land if they're considered adversaries or they're citizens of an adversarial
terrorist
country.
Yeah.
So we have options, but once again, they're going to have to be deployed quickly.
In terrorist organizations. Real quickly, I got about a minute or two. Just tell me, I just want people to get a flavor, right, of your inbox, your emails, of what people are saying, because one of the powers, I think, at the conference and what we've done here in these working groups we put together, because I've been inundated from Arizona, Oklahoma, Minnesota, people saying we're finally talking about this. Just what is your inbox like? Just the average of what people are now coming to you and talking about.
It is, besides fundraising emails and texts that I get from everybody across the country and whatnot, it is basically 80% updates, news, and requests. What can we do? We just saw this on the news. Here's a clip or a news article or an X link to something going on in Texas, especially North Texas, with respect to this issue. And so it's overwhelming. It's hundreds per day. It is. We're not just talking about it. People are not just talking about this, Steve. And I think this is for you and your partners and those that put on that event with Garrett Builders and yourself and Glenn Beck, which was an unbelievably well-attended event. I was blown away by the size and just the sheer scope of that event, the strategy sessions that took place before, there's follow-up events. But it is the number one issue on my plate as the Collin County chairman of the Republican Party. It is number one. In fact, at our next executive committee meeting, there's a push, and I am 100% in agreement with it, to appoint a temporary committee that will report to create a standing committee of our party for the county party that does nothing but investigates, reports, and recommends action with respect to all organizations and threats to American values, including Sharia law, which is first on that list. And so we'll be doing that the first meeting in February. And of course, we will be highlighting Prop 10 on the election of the Republican primary and just really focusing on everyone voting down ballot. We have a long ballot in Collin County. It's long paper, 19 inches long, two-sided. So the last thing on the entire ballot on the back side is Prop 10. And we are going to make sure everyone knows where it is and to go to that and check. Yes, Texas should Texas should prohibit Sharia law.
Byron, you also have a dinner coming up. Is there a place people can go to find out about the dinner? I think you're going to have it in the middle to late February.
Yes, February 21st is our annual Lincoln Day dinner. It's the Lincoln Day Gala this year. We've got Scott Jennings as our keynote speaker. Chris Salcedo is going to be our MC. And that's a time when we are going to do our major fundraising for the year. And we will focus, we're right in the middle of early voting. It's fortuitous, Steve, that our dinner falls on the Saturday in the middle of early voting. So we will be hammering home Prop 10 on that. Patriot Mobile, who is a big supporter of this push, and as you know, one of the driving forces behind that event that you spoke at and that you ran with, they are the corporate partner for that event. So there's no way we're getting through that event without a focus both on Sharia law and on Prop 10. So anybody wants to get tickets to that or look into that, it is collincountygop.org. Right there on the front page, you can click and get tickets to the VIP reception or the dinner, February 21st, 6 p.m. at South Fork Ranch in Collin County.